Florida woman says a fake soldier stole her heart, money, and dating site scam. And I thought this would be a pretty interesting story, and probably honestly not a too uncommon story for people to actually see. So, a Florida woman was scammed out of $25,000 by a dating site scammer who told her he was a U.S. military officer in Afghanistan who needed the dough to get back home. So Susan Rizzo of Fort Lauderdale told NBC6 this week that she was smitten by the handsome man she met on Plenty of Fish and decided to send him the money because she felt a spark. I sent the money because after 2 months of communicating, I felt I was developing a relationship that felt real. Rizzo told the news outlet about the con man who claimed to be named Nicholas Sean Wells Edwards. So the cruel Casanova told the infatuated woman that he needed the $25,000 for his trip back to South Florida, saying he has spent all his money getting from Afghanistan to Israel after the military's humiliating and deadly pullout from the Taliban-controlled country. I sent the first amount of money feeling it was right based on where we were at, Rizzo said. And again, keep in mind, they've never met before. He had gone to Fallujah, Mosul, and was going to end up in Kandahar, she told NBC6. Yes, and he told me on different missions he had lost men from his group and he was considered the military anthropologist, so he was in a relatively safe position. As the couple spoke on the phone, Rizzo felt like they were falling in love, and she even made plans to attend the wedding of one of his relatives. I feel my life is in limbo while waiting for your safe return, she wrote him in August 14th, according to the outlet. He quickly replied, a lot didn't go as planned, a lot of decision-making amongst most of the special ops soldiers, adding later, except there's a problem about my return because there's a provision to it that needs me to handle my own private flight arrangement. The trusting woman then followed his directions and transferred $25,000 into his bank account, but became suspicious when the Laos also asked her for $300,000 as part of a business deal for the couple. The instructions the person sent Rizzo included an address for a townhouse in Atlanta, NBC6 said. Georgia records show the name of the company mentioned in the instructions comes back to the same address and the bank is nearby. So the sloppy directions also mentioned beneficial instead of beneficiary and routine number instead of routing number for the bank account, according to the report. And when she realized she's been conned, Rizzo contacted the FBI and planned to speak with Fort Lauderdale police in efforts to get her money back. Unfortunately, conditions in the world right now are prime for these types of scams, Michael D'Angelo, who runs Secure Direction Consulting, told the outlet. With the whole pandemic and the withdrawal from Afghanistan, it's just the perfect time to appeal to people's empathy, so we are seeing a lot of these online scams popping up all over the place, he added. Rizzo told the outlet that she decided to speak out to prevent other women from falling prey to such fraudsters. And for somebody else to get taken like this emotionally and financially, it's embarrassing, it's hurtful, she said. And yeah, that's true. That is very hurtful and honestly very depressing when you really think about it. But this is not that uncommon to happen in the world, right? So just stay safe. And if you know someone that you could kind of see like, hey, you're talking to someone, but you're not really talking to someone most likely, or like, have you even ever met this person? Have you ever like video called this person? And if they haven't, kind of like tell them like, hey, get them on a video call right away to see if they're actually a real human being, right? Because you don't want them to get scammed, and you don't want to see like a loved one get scammed like this. Because imagine if you lost $25,000 and potentially losing $300,000 if she actually fell for that second part of the scam, right? Like that would be extremely scary if you were to really think about it. Like that's like basically a situation where you can't really come back from that. Like that's like a situation where people would potentially end up like going down a very dark path that they might end up like 6 feet under, right? Because that's like potentially their whole life earnings, right? So just keep that in mind, stay safe. And this is why you need a very strong financial foundation so that you understand your finances, you're protecting yourself with your finances, and you're never in a situation where if you were to do something or fall for something like this, it will not destroy you, right? For example, if you had, 50 grand in the bank and you fell for a $25,000 scam, well, it's hurtful, it's embarrassing, but it's not going to destroy you, right? And that's why we preach to get out of debt as fast as possible and to have like a very healthy emergency fund and start automating investing, because you don't want mistakes like this or bad choices like this to completely destroy your life, right? So hopefully she ends up in a better place, but you got to be very careful with this. And this is why you should strive to have a much better financial situation. Because imagine if someone fell for something like this and they were living paycheck to paycheck. You'd be completely screwed, right? There'd be almost like no chances of you like coming back from that. Or if you do, it's going to be extremely difficult to come back from this. But yet, if you were in a very strong financial position, you had money in the bank, you had no debt, you had no payments that you owed anyone, right? If you screwed up or did a bad choice, it will not destroy you. And that's the main thing. You want to be able to have the freedom even to make mistakes and still be able to weather through it, right? Because yes, $25,000 is a lot, but if you had $50,000 in the bank, falling for a $25,000 scam is not the end of the road. It's horrible, it's depressing, but it is not the very worst thing ever that could ever happen to someone, right? So just keep that in mind. You always want to be putting yourself in a position continuously to where you have much more options available to you. Because if this individual had like 100 grand in like student loan debt, plus all these other things, like $50,000 in credit card debt, then also like a massive mortgage on their home, and they were like barely keeping like water, like basically like, barely breathing air, right? Basically saying like, they're barely not drowning from all the financial destruction that they already have, and then they fall for something like this. That's where you get into a very bad situation. Like, another way to look at this is the individuals who end up getting scammed and they are like senior citizens, right? Where they have like basically dementia, or, they're basically only living on Social Security, right? If you're only living on Social Security and you fall for a scam like this, it's going to be nearly impossible for you to recover, right? Because you don't have time on your hands at that point. You have no income really coming in. You're kind of limited as to what you could even do, because you're going to face a lot of penalties because of the whole Social Security system and the limitations and restrictions on that. So it gets to the point where like, okay, am I going to get destroyed right now or not, right? But the thing is, if you're like a senior citizen and you're basically just living on Social Security, you pretty much are screwed. So it's just something to really think about and keep in mind, right? Be careful of falling for online scams.